Hello, today is August 7th, 2020. I am Michael Walsh. I work at the Yonkers Public Library. I'm currently in Yonkers, New York right now, and I'm with Ruth Kambar, who's a representative of the Assyrian Studies Association. She's an oral historian and an archivist. We're here with Vivian Sava. Um, Vivian, can you please state your current location, please?
Yes, San Jose, California.
Okay, and can you introduce yourself?
I'm Vivian Sava, nee Karam.
Okay, thank you. Um, and Vivian, do you give us permission to upload this interview to the Yonkers Public Library digital collection?
Of course, yes.
Okay. Yeah, and this would also be available to the Assyrian Studies Association and also the Library of Congress.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So, Vivian, when and where were you born?
I was born November 13, 1938 in Yonkers, New York.
Where did you grow up in Yonkers?
Yes, I did.
Like, where did you grow up? Like, what part of Yonkers?
Uh, I guess we would say South Yonkers. It was called Grosjean Avenue. Yeah, right off of South Broadway.
Did your family visit any particular places in Yonkers?
What I'm not quite sure I know what you mean. Did we visit?
Certain places in Yonkers, like certain parks or certain stores in Yonkers.
Yeah, well, we used to go to Getty Square.
Hmm.
We go to Janung's. I remember Janung's. Matter of fact, yeah, we were there. And what was it? Woolworths, or the 5 and 10 cent store, we used to call it. And our church was down there in Getty Square called St. John's Episcopal Church. And we used to go up to Untermeyer's estate up on North Broadway a lot. We went to the movies. There was the Lowe's movie right down on South Broadway. And there was, what was the other one? Proctor's and Strand. And then going the other way, even further south, was the Park Hill Theater. So we ran the gamut. Yeah, I think we were all over Yonkers, right? Never mind visiting all of our parents' friends and, because they were very social. So we were just all over Yonkers, all the way down as far as Van Cortlandt Park. I remember that. Yeah.
Did your family participate in any activities sponsored by the city of Yonkers?
I don't know anything about being sponsored by the city of Yonkers. I mean, they were involved in a lot of Assyrian activities, a lot of the dances and the weddings and programs like that. But I don't recall anything that was held by the city. No.
So who lived in your Yonkers household with you?
Before I was married? Yes. Oh.
Yeah.
It was my mother, my father, and my two brothers, and myself.
What is the birth order of your siblings?
My oldest brother was Alfred, and he was 10 years older than me. And then my younger brother, well, not younger, the next one was Raymond. He was 7 years older than me. And then I was born.
What are your parents' full names?
Well, my father's Assyrian name was Idamia, but in English they called him Jerry. We used to think that was a translation, but he said no, it wasn't. But you know what, Ruth, what came to me just recently? Jerry, you would say, was a short for Jeremiah, right? Well, if you think of Jeremiah, Aramia, it's the same name, right?
Yeah, right.
So
You're right.
yeah. So that came to be actually just a few months ago. And yeah. And my mother's
Yeah.
name was Judith, which was her given name.
What was her maiden name?
Yonan. Yonan. Yeah.
Do your parents have siblings?
My father had one brother, a younger brother, Abe or Abraham. And my mother had a younger brother called David, or his Assyrian name was Shlimun David or Solomon David. Yeah, they used to call him Shlimun. I called him Uncle Dave.
Um, what are your grandparents' names?
My father's parents, his father's name was Baba, B-A-B-A, and his mother was Midvet, or Mary translated. And my mother's name was Elizabeth, Elishua. I'm not sure I recall because I never met my grandfather on her side. Um, I was trying to remember what I was told, but I can't remember what his name was. He died in Iran.
Does your family have a religious background?
Yes, we were Christians. My parents went to, like I said, St. John's Episcopal Church. That's where they were married and where we grew up and baptized and choir, everything. Yeah.
What languages were spoken in your childhood home? Was there any Assyrian spoken?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Syrian was spoken all the time, and that's how my brothers and we got to understand it. My oldest brother spoke it actually fluently, um, and then they did naturally speak English because they had to learn that. But whenever they didn't want us to know what they were saying, guess what they spoke? Turkish. Yeah, you remember that? They would speak Turkish because of where Urmia was on the uppermost part near the Turkish border too. So they learned Turkish.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I know the bad words in Turkish.
Oh, you do? I don't know what. Bad, Ruth. Oh, yeah, I never did understand it. But one time, uh, we were at a hospital, and my father was very social too. He would go up to anybody and speak. And I listened. He was speaking Russian, and I thought, oh my gosh, where did this come from? But then again, being on that border, I guess he learned some of the language. Yeah, we never heard that in the house though.
A lot of Assyrians went back and forth to Russia for work also.
Yeah, probably so.
What was your household like growing up?
It was good. It was good. It was very wholesome, um, very clean, very loving. Uh, my parents were very close to one another. They they did everything together, everything, and they were very loving towards one another and to us, the children. They cared for us and wanted the best for us. Uh, like I say to people, I said, I never even heard the word shut up in my family. It was just very wholesome, just very good. We were good kids. so they were good parents. Yeah, it was good.
What schools did you attend in Yonkers?
I went to public school number 19, which was on the same street that I grew up, Grosjean Avenue. And then I went to Hawthorne Junior High for just a little bit because then we moved to Roberts Avenue. And then I attended, was it the junior high there? I forgot whether it was number 13, I don't remember. And then I went to Gorton High School where I
Was Mark
graduated.
Twain over there?
I can't hear you, what?
Was it Mark Twain?
No, on North Broadway. Gosh, I can't remember what number it was. I don't remember the name of the junior high. Yeah, I remember Hawthorne because that's where it started.
Was it Longfellow?
No, it didn't have a name. I think it had a number.
Number. Okay. No, I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
You know.
Did you pursue a post-high school education?
Yes. I went to Parsons School of Design in New York City, where I studied fashion illustration.
What did you do after you got your degree? Where did you work?
Well, my first job was in the garment district in New York City, and I used to sketch the fashions for the designer, and many times I would take them to other designers as well. And I worked in various places that I was able to draw, and then I freelanced a few times as well.
Do you still continue to draw to this day?
Not really, not as much as I know I should. My son gets on me for that. Every once in a while, I'll pick up, a canvas or a paper and draw. But I actually started a painting of my husband, but I haven't finished it. So, yeah.
Do you know anything about your parents' schooling?
They didn't have much. I know my father used to say he was taught by Rabbi Lucy back in Iran, and she was Rabbi meaning teacher, and I guess she taught them, and that's all that I know of him. There was no continuing of study here in the United States for neither my father nor my mother, as far as I know. Yeah, so they might have gone maybe as far as, let's say, maybe a junior high level, maybe.
What jobs do they have in the United States?
My father was a painting contractor, and that's what he did. He was singly painting. He had no other people under him, so he was independent. My mother, I think it was during the wartime, she worked at what we used to call the medicine factory, but it was the vitamin factory actually on Harriet Street. She worked there for a while, yeah, during the wartime, and then I think for a few months she worked at what we had the Klein's store on Central Avenue. She worked over there for a while too, in her later years. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Ruth, did you want to ask the Assyrian cultural identity questions?
Okay, Vivian. I'm so glad that you're with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, honey.
I really am. So tell me, what does it mean to you to be an Assyrian?
Well, I tell you, in my growing up years, I had no understanding of it. But as I grew up, and especially going to art school, and you learn about the Assyrians, their background, their culture, and I'm very proud, especially as I read my Bible as a Christian. So I get to understand a lot more about the Assyrian culture and the Assyrian makeup, what it was all about. I'm very proud. I'm very proud of it. I wish I could speak better. I naturally understand it, and I do speak somewhat. When my son took me to Europe and he took me to the British, when I saw the Assyrian exhibit, Ruth, I just cried. I really did. It affected me emotionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. To say, wow, I know we weren't the greatest of people as far as our ways and our methods, and but still, I was still very proud, and I am still proud of my heritage. Yeah.
And so both of your parents are Assyrian.
Mm-hmm.
And do you read any of the Assyrian?
Can I read it? No. When I was younger in Yonkers, they had an Assyrian school, which my father's cousin led, John Karam. And so I went there, and I remembered learning how to write my name in Assyrian, but that's as far as it went. Yeah.
Understand. And do you speak any other languages?
Just the English. I studied French in high school, but some of it I could understand, but not much. But the Assyrian I do.
And how do you explain to a non-Assyrian what an Assyrian is?
First of all, I tell them we're not Syrian. We are Assyrian. And I said we come from one of the oldest cultures. And we built the town or the city of Nineveh, which still, the area still stands, you know, and it's still up till a few years ago had some of our sculptures still there. But I tell them about how a lot of our cultures and history is in the British Museum. I tell them a lot because I am a born again Christian, so I refer a lot to the Bible, and especially to Jonah, the book of Jonah, where God still loved the Assyrians, no matter how bad they were in those times. But God loved them enough to send Jonah there to bring salvation to them. So yeah, I explain all of that to them.
I understand. And growing up, did you have any traditional practices in your home?
Practices?
Yeah, music.
Oh, yes. My father played the tar. You know, it's the long fret, that instrument. And I remember him telling me he was one of only 3 in the United States that played that. And so I would say almost every weekend there was always friends coming over, and he would play the tar, and someone would play the dumbek, which is the drum, you know, for the rhythm, and they would dance, the Assyrian dance. So there was always music, and even when there were no company or people there, my father would always be playing the tar, even on his own. So we always heard the music. And my uncle, my mother's brother, he would come and he would actually play the, I think they're pronounced akwale. It's the round akwale. Is that?
Almost like, it's like a cymbal, you mean? Or are you talking?
Yeah, it's a big round thing, and they would hold it and would have the little cymbals along the edges, and they would play akwale, I think they call that. Yeah. So music was always there in our household. And then I studied piano. My mother gave me piano lessons too. So there was always music. Yeah.
I have to show you. Have you seen the Assyrian film clips we have with your dad playing?
No, I haven't.
All right, I have to send them to you. I'll have to get your email at the end of the interview.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. I was reading your book though. That gave me a lot of interest though. Wonderful, wonderfully written. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, he was with my Uncle Dave in the picture, your dad. Dave Jacobs was related to me. So,
you know, and I saw his picture and I couldn't remember his first name. Because we used to call him Mr. Jacobs, you know, but I saw his picture in one of those videos.
Yes, he's
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And how about it's Assyrian food?
Oh.
What can you say about that?
I love it. I love it. My mother was known for being a very good cook. Assyrian food, especially the rice, of course, which is our staple food, you know. And I could make that pretty well. Matter of fact, my friends who are not Christian, who are not Assyrian, they want to know how to make it. And I said, oh my goodness, you know, to try to tell someone how to make Assyrian rice.
I know.
So they fail a lot. I love it. My kids have grown up on it too, especially when we would be up in New York and my mother would cook naturally. Gosh, I don't know. God, there's just so much. What the shurva, the rice, the kebabs, all of that. Yeah.
I understand. So yeah. You still cook it. So that's
yeah. Good. Yeah. I'll still cook the kebabs, the rice, the shurva. I make my mother what she called the Assyrian chow mein. She would make that. Yeah, I would do that.
And in San Jose, are there any Assyrian restaurants or places that you would eat Assyrian food?
Yes, there is one not too far away from us, maybe 15 minutes away. Yeah, so we at times, we don't go all the time, but at times we would go there.
Great. And do you think the preparation of food has changed at all since our families were in Iran to the United States?
Since they were in Iran, I'm sure they might have changed somewhat. I have nothing to gauge that by.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't have any other people that I could say that. You know, matter of fact, one of my dear friends here who's Assyrian, but she's from the Iraq side, so their cooking is, you know, a little bit different.
Yeah.
How she makes it. Yeah, but otherwise, I haven't really been to another Assyrian from Iran that have come from there. So for me to compare it, I don't.
My cousins in San Jose.
Oh, you have to tell me who that is.
I will. I'll email you. And so did you ever play any Assyrian games growing up?
No, I had one of my uncles in Chicago. When I was a child, he would bring the part of the lamb. I don't know what it was, a little thing like that, and you would throw it and you would say something to it. I don't remember. It was part of the neck or something.
I think it was the part of the feet. So we called it rishekla, and I know that's not the literal, but I think yes. I almost like dice. You would throw.
Yeah, and he would do that with me. Of course, I didn't know how to continue doing that, but I used to love it as a child. Yeah. But mom would make the rishekla once a year. Oh, the harissa. I made harissa, and I love it. I love it. I found a way. Someone told me how to do it in the crock pot. Could you imagine?
No.
I remember my mother sending me down to Main Street to pick up the chicken, right? She'd go there, she'd go get the chicken, get it killed, bring it back, pluck the feathers, do all this, do all that. And we've graduated now to putting in the crock pot. You know, the chicken, the chicken parts, stick it in, and that's it.
That's really fun. I love it. And can you tell me about where your parents were born?
Yeah, they were born in Urmia.
In which towns do you know?
Gosh, I know. Oh, my mother was from Kürsi. My father, is Chadabush all right, then he was from Chadabush. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I couldn't remember was from there.
And do you know why they migrated to the United States?
Well, at that time, you know, it was the Armenian Assyrian Genocide. And my grandfather on my father's side was already here in Yonkers, and he was, you know, bringing them over. On my mother's side, being that her father had already passed away at 20 something years old, so they had their father's uncles, the two uncles that were in Chicago. So they were trying desperately to bring them to United States. And for my mother and her brother and her mother, it took a long time. By the time they got on the ship to come, that the uncles were bringing them, I don't know what happened at Ellis Island, whether it was a mix up of the names or whatever, because the uncles did go from Chicago to Ellis Island to meet up with them. They could not connect, and they put my mother, her brother, and my grandmother back on the ship again and sent them back to Europe. So they went through, you know, Italy, through Spain and all that until they finally made their way to Cuba, where they stayed in Cuba for about a year and a half with a missionary family, she said. And my mother learned a song in Spanish while she was a young child there. And she still remembered the song, even in her late age. And then eventually, after about a year and a half, they came up through the Keys, Florida Keys, and they came into the United States. Yeah.
And how old were your parents when they migrated? Do you know?
Oh, I'm not really sure. I was thinking about that, and I'm thinking my mother might have been maybe around 14, 13, you know, somewhere around between 12, 14, because then they went to, after they went to Cuba, then they came up and they lived in Chicago with the uncles for maybe about a year or two. And then her mother's sister, in other words, my mother's aunt, asked for her to come to Yonkers because if she had daughters, let my mother come there and be with them, to fellowship with them.
Sure.
And so she came there to Yonkers, yeah.
And what year do you think they actually got into the United States? Do you know?
I'm not really sure. I would say maybe my father, maybe 1922, maybe that age.
Okay.
And my mother, maybe around 1923, like that, 24.
Do you know who was perpetrating the hardship that they were enduring and
Well,
causing?
yeah, from what I understand, yes, it was the Turkish government. Yeah, they were after the Christians, and they were, executing them. Yeah.
And what do you think the impact of that genocide and that journey had on your family?
My mother hardly spoke. She told me the story about how when they were in their running time, that her grandmother, her father's mother, was with them, but she was ill. She wasn't well, and they had the one donkey, which she rode on, and she turned to her daughter-in-law, my grandmother, and said, "Elishwa, you take the donkey, put the children on it, and go." She says, "I can't go any further. I'll stay here, and I'll wait for the Red Cross." And that was the last time they saw her. And my father, till the day he died, Ruth, remembered, and he still had tears in his eyes every time he would recant the story. He remembered as they were running, as they were going, he saw a young baby just sitting under a tree. And he thought, well, gee, maybe that was a family member or someone. So he went, as a young boy, picked up that little baby and carried it. So finally, his mother said, "What are you doing with this baby?" He says, "Well, it was just sitting there, Mom." And she says, "That's no one that we know. You have to put her back." And it tore his heart up to put it back. And he cried even till his last days. And he recanted how he and his brother, they would leave their mother and they would go into Mosul and all these other little towns to try to find work for them. I mean, here they were, 10 and 12 years old, and they would go to try to find work, to try to find food. And they ran across the English army, and they asked, "Can we do something?" He says they would set the tables for them. They would polish, shine their boots for them, and then meet up with their mother like a month later. I mean, I can't even fathom that at that age, doing that, taking on that responsibility, but they did.
Did they end up in Bakuba, Iraq?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yeah.
Did your dad ever speak about that, being in Bakuba, or no?
He did. I don't remember much of what he said. I actually, believe it or not, did tape him many years ago on the little cassettes, asking him his background, but we don't have a cassette player anymore, so.
And I will help you digitize it.
Okay, I don't know how to do that, so.
I do. I'll show you how. And,
okay.
That would be great. Also, for the genocide exhibit today is Assyrian Martyrs Day, based on all of the genocides.
Wow.
And, it's still ongoing. So
yeah. It is, yeah.
Too, in my later years. Initially, I didn't hear about it as, specifically from the family, but in time, these stories came out.
Yeah.
And tell us about how your family lived in Yonkers. Did you live among other Assyrians?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They were a community of themselves. And we always were with other Assyrians. Naturally, I think every ethnic group, when they're new into another country, they cling to one another. So, and being the youngest, I was always taken with them. Wherever the friends they visited, and if I got tired, I lay down on the bed and slept while they had their good times. Like I said before, my parents always entertained, always had people over with the music and the food. And we used to go to Playland, or what we called Rye Beach, remember? And for picnics. And I remember they would bring the samavad, to make the tea, and have their lunches and just have good times with one another. And strangers would come wondering, what is this samavad? What does it do? And they would inquire of it. And, that our families would be so proud to explain what it was. So, matter of fact, I have a few of them here from my mother. I have one from my grandmother, and it's an old, what do you call it? The Turkish water pipe.
Oh, wow.
So I have that one too, but they were very, very social. We traveled a lot to Philadelphia, where we had relatives, to New Britain, Connecticut, to Chicago. Always, always.
Who were your relatives in Philadelphia?
They were the Johannans, Jonathan and Alice Johannan. They had 4 children. And my sister-in-law, who eventually became my sister-in-law, that was her aunt.
Okay, so you married an Assyrian as well?
Well, I didn't. No, my sister-in-law. It was my oldest brother, Alfred.
Got it.
Married. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she had come from Iran, and she was introduced to my brother by this family in Philadelphia. Yeah.
Okay. And are there any other stories that your family told about the old country, even positive stories, anything about their lifestyle?
I know, like I said before, my father used to say how he was taught by Rabbi Lucy, who was in Yonkers. I didn't hear too much from my father. I heard a few things from my mother when they all went back in the 60s to Iran. And my mother found the house that she lived in, and even where her father was buried. And she still used to support one of the churches there, living in Yonkers. She still used to, support them financially, one of the Assyrian churches that she used to go to as a child. I don't remember too much, any stories. The one story I remember, this other lady that I know here, Anita, she's originally from Baghdad, and then moved to England, and then married and came here. So when I was introduced to her by my mother told a story that her grandmother, Anita's grandmother, and my grandmother were little girlfriends in Udmia, in Kyoto. They were little girlfriends, and when they used to play, they used to say, when we get married, when we have a little girl, we're going to name them Judith. And so my mom's name was Judith, and her mother's name was Judith too. And here we, the 3rd generation, we came to know each other.
That's great.
So, is that something? Yeah.
That's really lovely.
Yeah.
And, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, so that's about all I could remember.
No, that's fine. And what got you out to San Jose?
Well, my parents had moved out from Yonkers. What was it? We came in 81. They came around 1979. My brother Al, the oldest, and they wanted to get out of the cold, from New York. And so they came out to San Jose. And we were in Florida, my family. We were in Florida, and we were helping also at that time taking care of my husband's sister, who was like a mother to him. So when she passed away, my husband said, we've been here and we've helped out with my side of the family. Your side has just moved to California. Let's go there now so you could be with your family. So we moved out about 2 years afterwards. So we came out in 1981 to San Jose.
And I'm going to go back to what you said about your mom going back to Iran in the 60s. Did they go for the coronation?
Yes, they did.
Coronation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And are there any particular cemeteries that your family is buried in?
Well, yes, my grandparents and my father's brother and his family, they're at is it Oakdale?
Oakland.
What is it?
Oakland.
Oakland. Okay, yeah. Yeah, they're buried there. But as far as my parents, they're buried in Turlock here in California.
Are they in Assyrian cemeteries or sections?
No, it's just a regular section, yeah.
And you mentioned New Britain as an Assyrian community locally. They are the closest to Yonkers. And what did you do with that community as a child?
I remember we would go visit some of my parents' friends, and we would go to a lake there, and they'd have a picnic at the lake. And as children, we would go, swimming in the early part of the lake there. We'd go swimming there. Yeah, but they went to a lot of, I don't think they had the convention, so to speak, at that time, although we did that much later. But they went to whatever gathering, whether it was a wedding or whatever the people decided to have. I don't remember any serious functions, but just to get together. Assyrians were very social in those days. I don't know about them now, but I know they still have conventions.
Have you been to a convention?
Yeah, not recently, but when I was a kid, oh yeah, I loved the conventions because I'd meet my cousins there, and it was girls getting together, and I love the Assyrian dance. I love the music. I was a dancer, not only line dancing, but solo dancing.
Okay.
I still love to solo dance, yeah.
And have you ever wished to go back to Iran to visit?
Yeah, years and years ago I did. At this time, no, I don't. But years ago, when it was more open to civilization, if you want to call it that, I did want to go back at that time, yeah. Unfortunately, it never happened.
And do you know anything about this quest, or they call it the Assyrian question, a quest for our own Assyrian body of land back on the Nineveh plain?
I don't know of anything recent. I know I used to hear people sometimes in conversation many, many years ago saying, Atudai, we want to have our own place, like you said, go back to Nineveh. So, and I think I was too young to really understand all of what it meant. But I don't know of anything of that now, because like I said, I'm not within an Assyrian community here.
There's actually an Assyrian club in San Jose. I have to send you some emails of friends too.
Yeah.
And Yonkers relatives are out there.
Oh, okay. Well, that would be great to know.
Actually, Dave Jacobs' brother's grandchildren are out there.
Oh my gosh.
And so there's a whole group. And also the woman that is doing the film with me.
Yes.
She's there.
Oh, how wonderful.
And I know they have guest speakers about Assyrians, et cetera, at the club.
Yeah.
And so how does living in diaspora affect you or impact you in any way? Does it, as a dispersed people?
I have to say, it really doesn't affect me in that way. The only thing is that, like I didn't know, like, let's say that there was a club here. I would like to be at times with the Assyrian people because I love the music. I want to retain somewhat of the language, of what I know. I would like that. So not having my nationality be a known nationality, to say I'm going to an Italian club or whatever. That part is hard because I go into a bank and I could hear the woman, the teller, have an accent, and after a while I inquire and I find out she's Assyrian because I could tell the accent, or from a name, and so I feel good to hear that, oh, there are Assyrians here somewhere, but I don't know their activity, and I would like to I would like to be where there's, the music and the conversation, you know.
I understand.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to tell us that I haven't asked or Michael hasn't asked?
Well, gosh, I haven't thought about that. What is going to be, what are you planning to do with all this information?
Okay, so for now, Michael came up with this great idea because he actually saw my book and wanted to know more about our community from Yonkers. And he started this idea of interviewing people. Now, my research is in oral history in the Assyrian diaspora. And so I was very interested and contacted him when he contacted the Assyrian church in Yonkers, Marmari. So from there, I started to think about it. And for Assyrian studies, I was just appointed to the board. And
wonderful.
We are trying to create an Assyrian archive and adding to a pre-existing archive from Mara, which was another organization, and of Assyrian materials, archival elements. I'm also working on a genocide exhibit in Stanislaus.
Stanislaus in California here.
We got a very large grant from Cal Humanities, and we will be working on an exhibit. Part of it will be online. I think because of COVID-19, we will actually start with an online gallery. I would like to have these videos there as well. The film will be there, the Assyrian film from 1937. And people have been submitting archival elements for us. Some scans, not everyone wants to part with everything, and I understand that. But from internationally, we've been collecting.
Wonderful.
And if you have anything also, I would love to have your family present. If you have anything in writing, I'm also having Assyrian translated by people. If you have any old documents and books, etc.
You want pictures too then?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I need your email. We can get that one. Michael, I don't know if you're still recording, but I have photos of your family that I would like to send you as well.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
it was great looking at your book and seeing the people that I do know. And most of the names I could remember and some I don't, but seeing even my grandmother's in there.
And who was, tell me your grandmother's name again, I'm sorry.
Elizabeth was my mother's name, or Elishwa. Midabet was my father's, Mary.
Okay. So I'm glad, yeah, on the big Assyrian pictures of all the women.
Yes, amazing. It's amazing. I love it. I just love it. And it's amazing how all their dresses were the same. Did you notice?
They all had similar.
And the same polka dots, the same design on them. I thought, not like today. Heaven forbid I should have the same as you, and you for me.
It's many people have commented on it. I had a book signing at Barnes and Noble in Eastchester.
Oh.
Do you know Mrs. Sheba? If you remember Mrs. Sheba? Her granddaughter came to the book signing, and she accidentally, she likes the Arcadia Images of America series. And she said when she grabbed the book and realized that her grandmother was on the cover, that she couldn't. So she came and we met, and now I'm in contact with her. That's
wonderful. Yeah. Well, now as I'm looking at you, now I could see the resemblance to your mom, Lydia. You look very much like her.
Yeah. She's a pip. She lived with me for a year. We lost Dad a couple of years ago. And she's still a go-getter. She's traveled all over the world with us.
How wonderful.
Really, she's something.
Oh, that's great. That is great.